All righty. It is 1 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to understanding the student experience and how to improve it. That's, of course, within the context of BYU Learning Suite. And first of all, we want to make you aware, some of you have probably already gone into Student View and then seen how it is a little bit different. So we want to show you a few things that are different. So when we're in a course, they're still tabs, but you can see that it's now a responsive design. So some of the navigation comes over here if you're in a phone version, or if you're in a tablet, it's slightly different and full screen. Students have a combined schedule or all-in-one schedule view. Maybe we'll show the next month where the student has some more assignments where they can actually open an assignment, submit right from this combined schedule. They can, let's see if we've got an exam. Yeah, let's see. Oh, here they can start an exam again right from the schedule. So those are kind of some nice things. They have a little prioritizer, so if they want a to-do item, they can arrange their priorities by, they can drag and drop these different criteria around and get a different set of priorities based on, which courses are showing and stuff like that. So they've got a lot of tools to kind of help them be more productive and stay on top of things. You should understand that, a lot of times students are going to come to this combined schedule to see what is due in your course. And so you want to make sure you have your assignments properly set up so that assignment due dates and all those kinds of things are really easy for them to view and so forth. Let's see. So let's go into a course. In this case, because it's between semesters and also we don't want to violate FERPA, we got a community that we're using instead of a course, but hopefully you'll see some things here that will be of use to you. So on the course dashboard, students see 2 weeks of the class schedule. And one thing you'll see is that they get this kind of information. And you say, well, where does that come from? Well, if I go into my course here, let's see, here it is. What happens is a lot of times people leave this as column 1 and column 2. Whoops. And if I do that and I come back over here and refresh, then that's what the students see on their schedule. So one little tip to make the student experience just a little better is to actually give and this one. So I might do something like that. And then when I come back here, it's going to be a little bit more informative as to what information the students are seeing, right? Because I headline that, I give it a heading basically on the dashboard and on the class schedule, right? So they come here, they see here's my assignments due and my what to do before class or whatever. right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing we want to make you aware of is, so like, let's say I open this up. Well, if I put in any assignment description, that's going to be right here. And what we hear from students a lot is that instructors will put assignment descriptions in the content area and then create their assignments on the assignment tab. And so you'll maybe come to something where you go in and it's blank, right? Like this. And they don't know, well, what am I supposed to do? And they're hearing from the instructor, oh yeah, that's on the content page. And so they have to then go find, well, where is that assignment? And it causes a little consternation. Whereas if we're doing things well, here's an example of where I have put, here I've got here's the purpose of this assignment, here's the directions, here's whatever, and I can tell them, I might also tell them deliverable. Let's get that there. Submit your media. No, your form of PDF or doc. So, and then I can say, criteria, see the rubric or something like that. Maybe that bold and that bold. And, and so when the student comes over here and sees that assignment, where's the, I got a due date that I can't remember when it is. When did I say? End of term, that's on Tuesday, August 16th. So I'd have to come here to the 16th. I'm going to get to your comment in just a second here. But then if I see this here, right, and I click it, then I get all the information I need. I can see the rubric, I can expand the rubric, and so forth. And you might say, well, how did you get your rubric in there? I can show you that really quick too. So we edit this and we come to scoring and we select for the scoring method rubric, and then that gives me opportunity to create and attach a rubric. So someone says, I sometimes put a link to the assignment description content page into the actual assignment description. The students would then see the link on their dashboard, right? Yes. So if you feel like that's what you need to do, that's a much better option than having them have to go hunt and peck for it. So that's definitely a much better practice, Darlene. Yeah. So thank you for that comment. But anyway, that can be one way to just, improve things and kind of bring things like that to the forefront. Another thing is, if you're using the schedule, for example, to organize your course, and let's say you have something that you want your students to do besides an assignment, because the assignments, you can, just by clicking this category thing, it'll include the assignments in that category on the schedule. As you can see, as I unclick that, those assignments go away. As I click it, puts those assignments back on. So I want to make sure I have all my appropriate categories selected and in the appropriate column of the schedule. Then if I have something like, hey, I want you to, in preparation for class, let's change this to class information and preparation, maybe. Oh, I ran out of I know how to take care of that. We'll say course, class info and preparation. There we go. Because I only have so many characters. Then if I want my students to say go to a digital dialogue that I didn't make an assignment, or I want them to read a content page, right? So let's say I want my students to read this introduction to more effective learning strategies. I can come here to student view, just grab the URL really quick, go back into instructor view, come over to my schedule. We're working to make this a little bit easier, but let's say that's in preparation for class on Wednesday, August 24th. Then I would say, please read introduction to more effective learning strategies. And I might select that. And then all I have to do is pop in my URL that I got from my address bar and double check. Actually, I want them to not go into a new window. So maybe I put not set or something like that, but we'll just keep it that way. Cancel that. Okay, and then click save. And now as my students look at the schedule and see items, then they'll get a link to go directly to that page and read it, instead of me just telling them in text, read this page, and having them again have to go try to find it. Does that make sense? So those are some things. And same here with if I want them to introduce themselves in a digital dialogue intro discussion, here takes them directly to the introduction. So just using the wonderful world of hyperlinking can really help kind of bring things together. Now, an alternative to that we'll talk about later is path, and we'll talk about that in a second. Oh, man. Okay, good. Okay, so we've kind of already talked about putting, where possible, put the full description, because you have rich text in the assignments. So try to do it there. Some of these things, like reading a content page, if you want to use a content page, but you want your students to read it, well, you could make an assignment. And like Darlene suggested with her description, you could put the description to the assignment in the description, and it would take them directly to it. So even if it was just a reading for reading's sake, you could also do that either as a text item on the schedule or create a reading assignment with an appropriate reading category or something like that. You could make the category worth no points, or make the assignments worth no points if you don't want to have to grade it or whatever, by simply excluding it. So like if I have an assignment where I wanted to do this read, let me copy this. Okay. So I could turn this into an assignment quite easily and have the due date be August 24th, which is tomorrow. And I call it, please read Introduction to More Effective Learning Strategies. And I don't have any submission unless I want to. But the other thing I can do to make it a zero or worth zero, I can just say exclude and don't include in the grade. Maybe even make this a 1, where it's just a binary, did you do it or not kind of thing. Save it. Oh, and maybe I put it into readings and videos and Voila. Now I've created it as an assignment. I just have to refresh and there it is. And if it's in a category that's class preparation, I would just move the readings over here, and then it's in the column I want it to. And so the student opens that. Let me go into student view. Go to August 24th. Yep. Please read. It'll open that. Click that. Takes me into the reading. Everybody's happy, right? Okay. So one thing you want to be aware of as well is that if I have exams, let me go back to the instructor view. I have exams, and if it's unpublished, and let's say, yeah, I can take this later. If it's unpublished, my students won't see that exam. So it's past due and everything. So if I publish it, then, well, let's just see here, come to the list, and we'll see. It's not there right now because it's unpublished. So if I publish it and come over here and refresh, then I will have now brain dump week 3, and I can view it and the student can take it. We've heard from some people or from students in the past where instructors didn't publish the exam until right before they were supposed to take it, and they didn't even know it was coming up, so they didn't prepare for it or whatever. And there's a time and place for pop quizzes and things like that, right? But you need to use those strategically so that students are actually preparing all the time instead of not knowing when to prepare, right? But there's a nice thing. If this is published and I want it to be a pop quiz, I can come here to scheduling and I can hide the assignment until a specific date and have it open up in, while we're in class or something like that, and the students take the quiz. So there are other ways to do that besides leaving something unpublished. And also, if you have assessments or exams that are unpublished and it's at the end of the semester, if you haven't used it, it's better for you to just get rid of it or go in and use this do not include in the final grade and save it. Otherwise, it will still count against the student, even though it's not published. So those are some things you want to be aware of that could potentially, adversely affect your students, right? Because we figure if you put the assignment in to Learning Suite, we figure you want it to count towards the student's grade. So there we go. Anyway, we showed you an assignment with a rubric, right? Let me show you a couple of things really quick. Okay, so we'll go home. So when students see a rubric, they get a nice little thing here. Yeah, they get a little rubric button. And so they can see, here's the different criterion and the performance levels. These aren't great example of a rubric, but you can see that you would be able to communicate whatever you've put in the rubric to the students. They see that, and you can use that to full effect that way. So that's a good thing to do. And we already saw how to add that. One other thing you should know, on your course home, you have a manage rubrics area where you can create new rubrics. So you start off with at least one criterion and three levels, but you can reduce that to one level or or you can add levels and you can add additional an additional criterion or more additional criteria until you've fleshed out your rubric. Okay. Questions at this point?
Hey, Mike, Evan Thacker here. Can you
Hey,
hear
Evan.
me?
Yes, I can.
I do have a question about that rubric builder tool that you were just showing us.
Yeah.
When I click the button to add a criterion, I think that's the button I'm talking about. Can you open that up again real quick?
Yeah. Let me refresh that.
When I click add a criterion,
I think
there's sort of a standard. It's okay. I can ask my question without looking at that. There's like a standard structure that pops up that has 3 levels, right? And yeah, when I add criterion, I get another thing just like what I see here. Once I've developed a criterion and I've got the levels how I want, either adding levels or subtracting levels or customizing it how I want to, can I then copy that criterion to preserve its structure rather than adding a new criterion with the default structure?
At present, no, but that is actually in the works right now.
Okay, cool.
To be able to copy over the structure of what you've set up. Yeah. And so as we showed you this new view of student view, as we move to the instructor version of that, we're updating the rubric creator so that you can do exactly what you said. So it is, I'm hopeful that when we talk next time this year, and hopefully before that will be, hopefully well before that, we'll have that rolled out. But right now it's under development.
All right. Thanks for taking my question. I appreciate it.
No, hey, no problem. Any other questions at this point? Okay. So what I'm about to explain on content pages is true for basically any area where there is a rich text editor. And by that, I mean digital dialogue, prompts, exam instructions, exam questions, exam block, even basically in exam question answer options, on the schedule and in your fields of the syllabus all have rich text editors. And so as you can see, we can put content, actual content, and embed things into Learning Suite. So if I create a new page, let's come down here, create a new page. Sometimes we have a tendency to either just add insert files, which is fine, right? I can insert this image and now my students can download it and see it if they want to. And I can insert this movie file and then my students can download it. But the other thing I can do is, if I wanted to have those same things, I can insert an image and have, where's the one? Insert the image and we see the image, right? Instead of doing that. And if I wanted to have my students watch that movie, I can come here and I can find that movie and insert it. Now it looks just like that right now, but when I preview it, the students can pop that up, watch the video. I think it's a little slow because I'm doing a Zoom meeting while trying to watch a video and all that kind of stuff. But I can save that file and okay, edit, where's my, There we go. Demo page, okay. But a lot of times, you know, things like if I want, like if I get this, okay, sorry, okay. Whoa, let's get a real video. Okay, there we go. And if I go share, where's share? There's go. Get this embed code, right? Instead of giving my students a link to a video I want them to watch, I can just say, oh, I want to put the video right here. Click here, click embed, and do this. And the nice thing is that we have it built in so you can hide related videos. Otherwise, you need to know how to adjust the code here, the source, so that it hides related videos when the students are done watching it, which will ultimately suck them into the vortex or the rat hole or black hole that is watching YouTube videos, right? So we insert that. I already did the page title. Title, save that. Okay, edit that. There was something going on. So we'll click here, embed, put my embed file, insert the video. There it is, save and publish. And now, voila, students can watch the video right in line instead of linking them out. And so if I have files that I want my students to see, I might be able to, I can use Learning Suite to link to those files. In Path, there's a way to embed files and display them on the page. Another way you can do that is, let's say I've got all my course materials on Box, and I log in there, and I find something, let's see. 109. There we go. I got my student 109 files, and I've got this nice little thing that I want to share with my students. So I make sure I've shared it with the appropriate people. And then I come here to this more options, select the embed widget, decide on my size. I want my students to really see this page, so I'm going to go with the larger size and copy. Come back over here, I'll edit the page, and then probably the easiest way is I go into source, come over here, pop that in, come back, and now I can see, I can even preview this and see that, whoops, it's taking a second to load that preview, huh? But I'll save it, and then it'll come down here and give the students the PDF right there in line. So, and from Box, I can do all kinds of files because they have several different tools that allow you to embed audio and video files, PDFs, and so forth. Yes, Evan.
If I embed a PDF inline like you just showed, can the student also click on somewhere to download that PDF? How would
Yeah, so if you made the sharing like I did here, let me just show you where people with this link can view and download. If you use Box, for example, then just right here, they have a download option.
All right, cool.
I wish it were a little more visible, but you could quickly show your students and they'll get the hang of it pretty quick, that's how they can download it themselves. So that's a limitation that's yeah, that's a Box thing as far as where it's put, but yeah.
It's
Good
okay.
question. Good question. All right. So that's that same can be true for, like, if I had my, I wanted to put that right here, I could come here, pop that in, but then maybe I only want this to be, well, let's just say 200 by 150, which is going to be really small, but we'll save it. And then it's saved right there. And I would probably have to fix the size. I could edit this item source and say, we want this, the width to be 400 pixels and the height, we want the height to be 500. Save that, and then we've got a much better document to view. So we can even do that in the schedule itself, right? So, and if I decide I want to get rid of it, then I can just come here and delete the item. Okay, so we can make things a little bit easier for students to access and things like that. Here's another thing. So let's say your student, for some reason, they try to submit a paper and it doesn't work for them for whatever reason. Their internet's a little slow. It's a large file, it times out, whatever. And so instead of submitting it through Learning Suite, they email it to you and say, hey, I couldn't get it to upload. I tried once and it didn't work. Just kidding. Maybe they tried multiple times and they were just having spotty internet problems or whatever, but they somehow managed to get it out to you via an email. Well, I personally don't like to have to keep track of, oh yeah, I remember Johnny and Sally, they submitted via email. So when it's time to grade, I've got to remember to go back and do all that. What you can do instead is actually submit the assignment on behalf of the students. Now, you can't do this for exams. You can't take an exam for a student or anything like that. But for an uploaded assignment, I can go into Student View and then select the student. And now I'm seeing this page as Bob, right? And then for this assignment, I can choose, okay, I want to choose that, open, and I can submit. I'm not going to submit right now just for the sake of time, but it'll allow me to submit on behalf of the student. And that way, the file that they sent me versus via email will now be in Learning Suite so that I can give them feedback on it, give them a score on it and not have to change up my workflow. So that doesn't necessarily on the surface seem like that affects the student's experience, except that because they, for whatever reason, weren't able to submit, or they tried to submit a little late, but they ran into some problems, and so they ran out of time, and they email you, which has happened to me, students submitting that kind of an assignment. Well, I was trying to assignment and my internet went down, and will you still take it? And I'm usually pretty nice about it, especially if they email me a few minutes after the due date and due time. So I'll take it and I'll upload it for them. And that way, when I give them feedback, boom, they get feedback just where they always would, and don't have to wait for you to remember that, oh yeah, that assignment's in my email. It also, they don't get a 0 on the assignment because they didn't submit it, even though they did, and you said you'd accept it. Everything kind of takes care of itself when you do that simple little procedure. So that's a nice thing. So speaking of feedback, it's good to know, how do students access and get my feedback when they're done. Now, I wish there was, bells and whistles that went off to let them know, hey, you've got new feedback, but it's or, like the old AOL, you've got mail. It could be, you've got feedback. But no, what we do is we have this feedback button. So once I've gone in here and I've, by the way, another feature that if you haven't gone to the What's New in BYU Learning Suite, you should be aware that that we do have a video feedback. So you can record video feedback to your student and explain to them what you saw, what they can do to improve and all that kind of stuff right there in video. And that's eventually going to become where you can do a screen grab or a screen capture, and you could talk through the document with them. But that it's not there yet, but that's the path it's taking. So look for that in the future. So I can give my students text feedback here. I can mark up the document with feedback, and I can do that. I can do the video feedback. So I've got all these things, and I can also upload a file. So let's say I want to put this little screenshot. I don't know why I do that, but there it is. And I close that down, and that was the video feedback assignment. So I'll come over here to Bob, refresh just to make sure that it got any updates. Bob comes in, clicks the feedback, and then he can see what I've annotated on the document, can see the text I've written in, can see the video I recorded, and also see the video or the image file that I included as feedback as well. But that could be a Word document with your markup or whatever. Okay. Another thing related to that, I'll show you, is let's say students have submitted some written work, and if you're in, let's find a good assignment. Okay, well, close that and hopefully retry that again. Come here. Unfortunately, we're in a community, and so it's not showing up like it should. But when I'm on all students, there's usually a download or batch download, and also a batch upload. And so let me just explain how you use that. And the other place you can get to that is if you come to the grades. You can also do it here. You don't even have to go in the assignment. So we'd find this video assessment assignment, and there's going to be a batch download, and that will download as a zip file all the students' submission. Then if you want to unzip it and then edit the files, putting in your comments, feedback, corrections, whatever, we recommend you don't change the name of the file, just save it. And then zip up the folder again. And if you need help knowing how to do that, we can get you some help, but zip that folder up and then come back here to batch upload. And because when the student submits the file, we rename the file and add some information that includes the student's net ID. And as long as you don't change that, Learning Suite knows how to parse that title and find the net ID and then put that batch upload into the correct feedback form or field for the correct student. Okay, so that's really helpful if you need to batch download and batch upload feedback for your students. You don't have to go one at a time and find the right file and upload it for Johnny and Sally and so on and so forth. Okay, so any questions about that? Okay, I put there's a comment. I find that my students read the feedback I put in the individual text box, but forget to look at the document to see the comments I've inserted. Is there a place where they are alerted that there are comments from me within the document? Also, if I leave the text box empty but insert comments, their feedback button show that there's feedback. Actually, right now, that is a little quirk that we're trying to work on. In the meantime, if you can put like even a period or something into the text box, then they'll get the feedback button. But it really is keyed off of that individual feedback box. So it is a good idea to put something in there. As far as some alert that you've marked up the document, there's not, except the fact that they can see these yellow things when they open the thing. So that's why just a little understanding how it works. And like I said, we are trying to work through some of those issues to make it more evident and improve the student's experience on our side too. Letting your students know, look, I've put some feedback here. And the other thing, currently there's not a notification, but we have a kind of a notification of changes in the class that's supposed to be coming in the near future. We're working hard on the new instructor side, so that's kind of in queue, but not there yet, of a little page that'll show them that there's these changes since the last time you've been in or since you've looked at the course. And so it'll be a little page that'll show, oh, look, you got a score on this assignment. You got feedback from your instructor on this assignment. You got somebody responded to your digital dialogue thing. So for each class, and I think maybe even at the home level for all courses, there will be an alerts kind of thing that's supposed to be coming down the pipeline sometime soon, which will also, then link directly to the students being able to go look at the feedback and stuff like that. That will hopefully help in that matter. But that's, I hope I get to announce that sometime in the near future when it's actually out. So, okay, another thing you can be aware of, if you can see this, if the students go to grades, they have a nice little thing that I have kind of a love-hate relationship, because I think it puts them too much in a grade-oriented approach. But at the same time, students are motivated by grades, so you kind of have to work with it. But they have a what if calculator. So here's scores this student has already gotten, and they can run calculations. So what if I get 4 out of 5 on that, and I get full credit on that, and I get full credit on that, and I only get 24 on that, and then they can see how that will affect their grade. And they put in scores, but that doesn't count for anything, right? But they can play and see, okay, so if I get 100% on my final, what will that do to my grade? And so that's another thing you can be aware of. And that if you are working with a student and you want to use that feature, if you go, let's say, go to grades and go to assignments page, and then go to the student view, and I select Bob student, for example, then I can actually do for Bob what Bob just did and put in scores and help him figure out what he needs to do in order to achieve the grade he wants to achieve. So that's just a quick little tool that you might want to know that is there. Another thing you might want to be aware of is that you can, like, let's say you have students who have a specific accommodation. Let's say Jane's student here. We'll delete this and do it again. Come on. There we go. Okay, so I add a new exception and I say, oh, Jane has an accommodation for timed exams. And so I'm going to change the time availability and I'm going to do it as a multiplier and I'm going to give her 1.5 times the length of the exam and apply that just to exams. And because it's a time extension, it's only going to apply to time constrained exams. And I save that. And then whenever I create a time constrained exam, Jane automatically gets that exception, which is in accordance with her accommodations letter, right? So that's kind of nice. That particular accommodation won't apply to other types of assignments. If, for example, let's say Jane gets, let me do another one. Let's say change availability, and I want to say, oh, Jane gets, it's going to open at the same time, anything, but I want it, she gets an extra 2 days after the close date. And I also apply that to assignments, then what do you mean integers? It is an integer. Last time I checked 2 was an integer. Okay, I'll have to let Kirsten know about that. Anyway, so I can make that adjustment as well. If you have a problem like that, let us know and we'll get that fixed. I think this is just because I'm in a community and it's having a problem. Anyway, so you can give exceptions for, the nice thing is when I add students, I could select all my students. I can do groups of students. And if I have like multiple sections in a course, I can also give exceptions to one section. So let's say I have, this is the real case for me. I have a class that meets Tuesday, Thursday at 2 o'clock and one that meets Thursday at 5 o'clock, right? So I might give, for certain assignments, I might give my my later evening section additional 3 hours to turn in the assignment. Just be aware that if you are giving assignments that are due at like 10 or 11 or 12 at night, or well, let's say 11, if you give another class like 3 extra hours on an assignment that's due at 11 o'clock, then that suddenly becomes 2 in the morning the next day, which can cause some concerns for them, right? Because even though they have that extra time, they think, oh, it's not due until that day, and they're not staying up until 2 o'clock. Hopefully they're not staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning trying to complete the assignment, right? So be aware when you do these exceptions to look at how they may apply to your assignments and act accordingly. And you can go in, even though you've created this course exception, it gets applied to new assignments as they're created, but you can go in and delete that exception and overwrite it or change it and save it. Just be aware of that. Okay. Another thing I wanted to make you aware of is sometimes people will copy in elements of their exams or something like that from a Word document where they wrote the thing and they used something to indicate what was the correct answer. Like maybe they highlighted the correct answer for their TA, right? And then they or their TA use that document to copy stuff in. Well, that can sometimes come through if you just copy and paste from Word into an exam. And so let's say here I am, I'm Bob's student here, and I come to take this Beatles exam, and I begin the exam. And right now it looks fine, right? Oh, except for this one was italicized, and that's the right answer. And so, so I maybe answer those questions and whatever. But if I'm Bob and I go into, let's say I had mine in dark mode, and I go to take the exam, suddenly, oh, look, those correct answers are showing for me, and I know what they are, 64, and it's silly. And we'll get that one wrong on purpose. Save and continue, and we'll, oh, that one's out, and all the lonely people are darning socks. And I'm going to say these three, except for this one's wrong. And I'd say, yes, it happens all the time. Finish and submit. Well, I've given away potentially the correct answers to Bob, right? Because those were highlighted. And when I went into dark mode, it shows up, right? When it was a white background, the white background didn't show up. Does that make sense? So what you want to do is you want to quality test your own tests and double check them in dark mode and things like that to make sure you haven't incidentally left some clues to what the correct answer is and things like that. Now you think, well, if I leave clues to the correct answer, doesn't that improve the student experience? Well, not really, because then they get the answer right and they don't get to actually prove that they knew it or learned it, and so on and so forth. So you want to be aware of that. Now, another thing, we talked a little bit about how you can organize things on your schedule. Well, we have another tool called Path where I can put together, here's the things I want you to do this week or in this unit or whatever. You can organize it however you want, although I find week to week quite a helpful organizing principle. And if I make these or publish these, then when I come in as my student here and go in there, I can go to Path and I can see, oh, I've got to do this thing. It opens up right here, and I can complete it and move on to the next requirement, and it shows me what I'm supposed to do, when I'm supposed to do it. All right, and I can move on and I can launch the exam from right here and finish and submit, and so on and so forth. And that can be a handy tool for guiding students along what they need to do. I use it in my course, and in fact, I come here to the setup and I turn off these other tabs. And so if we come here, I think I have to come out and go back in, but then it kind of reduces it down. Students have to know, just go to the learning path tab, and everything you need to do will be there. And I usually even lock the units that they're not supposed to be working on yet until right before the week starts, so that the students go in and do what they need to week by week, right? Are there any questions? Yes, Evan.
On the learning path, I'm aware of it, haven't used it. I'm sort of interested in it, but I feel like I would need some help to determine, would it be worthwhile for me to reorganize my Learning Suite courses using the learning path versus how they're currently organized, which makes use of mostly content pages and schedule. Mm-hmm. Do you offer a session that would help me figure that out, or would I be best served by just meeting with one of you guys one-on-one about it?
Yeah, you just contact me. We'll set something up and we can talk through it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because we'd want to look at the specifics of your course and how you're organizing things to really know whether we'd recommend path for you.
Right. I want to look into it because if I discover that it would actually make the experience for my students better, I'd be in favor. I just haven't taken the time to figure it out yet. So I'll check in with you about it.
Okay. So there's also preferences, and so we showed you a little bit about how you can change from light mode to dark mode, but also your students can switch. Like, this was especially helpful during COVID, like, when students went back home and they were taking their courses from California or New York or whatever, they could select their time zone, and then that way they would know when assignments were due in their time zone instead of having to figure out everything, translate it from Mountain Time Zone, right? They can also set up a different page to initially log into Learning Suite. They can, this is he's getting some instructor ones. Sorry, because Bob's student does a lot of stuff. He's a TA and all that kind of stuff. But you can change your email preferences. Students won't have an exam thing, but messages, they can set it up so that you can use BYU Learning Suite messages, and they'll get an email notification when they get a message, and they can specify when they want those. So like, somebody sends me a new message, replies to a conversation I started, or replies to a conversation I've replied to, for coming from a student, so they could turn all of that off and just get stuff from when an instructor talks to them, right? So all of that, excuse me, is good. They do need to click that FERPA release. That isn't one of their things, but and by the way, if you want to see the new version of Learning Suite as it rolls out for instructors, you can opt in to the beta version. But anyway, so be aware that you have some ways to improve the kinds of notifications they're getting and stuff like that, so you can show students where they can do that. So that's a good thing. So I think we've hit upon everything, and our time is actually up for the hour. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and stop the share. And well, no, I won't stop the share. I'll just stop the recording. And